The night was cold. The mountains were covered with white snow and the wind howled like a hungry beast. A small human boy sat near a dying fire. His clothes were torn, his hands were red from the freezing air, and his stomach ached with hunger. He was alone, an orphan with no family, no home, and no one to care for him. Every night was the same. He hunted for scraps of food, searched for dry wood, and prayed that the storm would not take his life. The world had been cruel to him, but still he survived. That night, as he wrapped himself in a thin blanket, he heard something unusual. At first he thought it was the wind, but then he realized it was different. It was a cry. A strange, echoing cry coming from deep in the valley below. His heart began to race. It was not the sound of a wolf or any mountain animal. It was something he had never heard before. It was soft, filled with pain, almost like the cry of a child. The boy stood up. His first thought was to ignore it. The mountains were dangerous at night. Shadows hid predators, and icy cliffs could kill in seconds. But the cry came again, louder this time, filled with fear. He could not resist. Despite his hunger and exhaustion, he followed the sound. Step by step down the rocky path through the snow into the unknown. His small lantern shook in his hand, throwing weak light on the icy stones. The cry grew clearer as he reached a narrow ravine. He looked down and froze. There, half buried under broken branches and rocks, was a figure. It was small like a child, but not human. Its skin glowed faintly in the dark, a strange silver blue. Its eyes were large and bright, shimmering like stars. Its arms and legs were thin, almost fragile, and one of them was bleeding badly. The boy's breath caught in his throat. His mind screamed at him, "Run, this is not human." It could be dangerous, but then the creature looked at him. Its glowing eyes were full of fear and hope. It was not a monster. It was just a child, hurt and alone, just like him. For a moment, time stopped. Two orphans from different worlds staring at each other in silence. The boy climbed carefully down the ravine. His hand shook as he pulled away the branches trapping the creature. The alien child made a soft sound, almost like a whimper, but did not fight. It seemed to trust him. "Don't be afraid," the boy whispered, though he knew it could not understand his words. His voice was gentle, the same way he once spoke to his little sister, before the war took her away. When the creature was free, it tried to stand but fell back, too weak to move. The boy noticed a strange wound on its leg. He tore a piece of cloth from his blanket and tied it around the injury, stopping the bleeding. The alien child winced but made no sound. As the boy worked, the wind grew stronger and snow began to fall heavily. He knew they could not stay here. If they did, both of them would die before morning. He pointed to himself. "Human," he said slowly, tapping his chest. Then he pointed at the creature, waiting. The alien blinked, tilted its head, and then made a soft noise, a word the boy could not understand. He smiled faintly. "All right, whatever you are, you're coming with me." The creature seemed to understand his tone, if not the words. With great effort, it reached out a trembling hand. The boy took it and pulled the alien onto his back. Step by step, he carried it up the icy path, his legs shaking under the weight. The climb was slow and painful, but finally, he reached his small camp. He placed the alien near the fire, wrapped it with what little cloth he had left, and gave it a piece of his dry bread. The alien sniffed the bread, then tasted it carefully. For the first time, its glowing eyes softened. It looked at the boy and made a sound that was almost like, "Thank you." The boy felt something warm inside his chest. For so long, he had been alone in this cruel world. But tonight, he was not alone. Tonight, he had someone who needed him. He sat near the fire, watching the strange child breathe softly. The snowstorm howled outside, but for the first time, the boy did not feel afraid. Yet deep inside the mountains, something else stirred. Ships moved silently through the clouds. Raiders, 30 strong, scanning the land for the missing alien child. The boy did not know it yet, but by helping this stranger, he had drawn the attention of an army. His life and the fate of the mountains was about to change forever. The fire burned low and the snowstorm outside howled like a living beast. The boy sat close to the small alien child, watching its glowing skin reflect the flickering light. Every time the wind pushed against the tent of branches, he worried it would all collapse. But the creature's soft breathing calmed him. Morning came slow. A pale sun rose above the frozen peaks. The boy rubbed his eyes and looked at the alien child. It was awake, sitting up weakly. Its large eyes followed him, curious but cautious. He offered it a small piece of bread, the last of his food. His stomach groaned with hunger, but he pressed the bread into the child's hands. "Eat," he whispered. The alien studied him for a long moment before taking a careful bite. Its thin lips curved into something that looked like a smile. The boy's chest tightened. No one had smiled at him like that in years. But reality returned quickly. They could not stay here. The firewood was almost gone, and soon the snow would bury the camp. Worse, the boy had seen shadows in the sky the night before. Strange ships that did not belong to Earth. He pointed toward the mountains. "We have to go." The alien tilted its head, not understanding the words but sensing the urgency. Slowly it stood, still weak but determined. The boy helped it to walk. Together they stepped out into the white wilderness. The wind cut through their skin, and the snow swallowed their footprints as soon as they made them. The mountains stretched endlessly. Sharp cliffs, deep cracks in the ice, and hidden caves filled with silence. The boy knew these paths well. He had wandered them since losing his family. But now, for the first time, he wasn't alone. As they climbed higher, the alien tried to speak. Its voice was soft, musical, but the boy could not understand. Still, he listened carefully. Slowly, the creature pointed to itself and said a word, something short and strange. "Lyra," it repeated, tapping its chest. The boy blinked. Was that its name? He tried to say it. "Lyra." The alien's eyes brightened and it nodded quickly. Yes, that was its name. The boy pointed at himself. "Aaron," he said quietly. It was the name his mother once whispered before she was gone. "Aaron," the alien repeated, stumbling over the human sound but smiling. For the first time, two orphans from different worlds had names for each other. Hours passed. The climb grew harder. Rocks crumbled beneath their feet and ice cracked dangerously. At one point, a pack of thin, starving mountain wolves appeared on a ridge. Their glowing eyes followed the pair hungrily. Aaron pulled Lyra behind him, raising a broken stick as his only weapon. The wolves circled closer, growling. But before they could attack, Lyra raised her hand. A faint blue glow sparked from her fingers, and the wolves froze. Their ears twitched, their tails lowered, and within seconds they turned and ran. Aaron's mouth fell open. You did that?" he whispered. Lyra looked at him, weak but calm, as if it were nothing. Aaron realized then, this was no ordinary child. She had powers he could not even imagine. The day dragged on. They crossed a frozen river, using fallen logs as a bridge. Aaron slipped once, nearly falling into the icy water. But Lyra caught his hand with surprising strength. He stared at her in shock, then laughed softly. "I guess we're saving each other now." By nightfall, they found a small cave for shelter. Aaron started a fire while Lyra sat close, her eyes fixed on the flames with wonder. It was as if she had never seen fire before. She stretched her thin hands toward the warmth, a small sound of amazement escaping her lips. Aaron smiled faintly. "It's not much, but it keeps us alive." That night, as they rested, Lyra pointed to the sky. Through the opening of the cave, the stars burned bright. She touched her chest and then raised her hand toward one particular cluster of stars. She spoke in her strange language, but Aaron understood the meaning. Home. Her home was out there, beyond the stars. Aaron's heart grew heavy. If she wanted to return, she needed help he could never give. He was just a poor orphan boy of the mountains. But then Lyra's eyes turned back to him, filled with trust. She believed he could guide her, and he wanted to. For once in his life, he had purpose. But danger was already moving closer. Far away, in the snowy valleys below, the 30 raiders landed their machines. Their leader scanned the mountains, eyes burning with greed. "The girl is near," he hissed. "Find her. Kill anyone who stands in our way." Back in the cave, Aaron stirred uneasily in his sleep. He dreamed of fire, of steel, of shadows falling from the sky. He did not know that tomorrow those shadows would come for him. For now, all he had was the warmth of a small fire, the trust of an alien child, and the courage in his heart. The mountains would test them. But together they would face whatever waited beyond the snow. The cave was silent except for the soft crackle of the fire. Aaron sat with his knees pulled close, staring at the flames. Lyra lay nearby, her glowing skin faint against the shadows. She looked peaceful now, but Aaron could still see the pain in her eyes when she moved. Outside, the wind roared across the mountain peaks. Snow pressed against the rocks, but the cave gave them shelter. For the first time in many nights, Aaron felt something close to safety. When dawn arrived, pale light spilled into the cave. Aaron woke to find Lyra already awake. She was sitting cross-legged, holding a small object in her hands. It glowed faintly blue like a piece of the night sky captured in stone. "What's that?" Aaron asked softly, even though he knew she might not understand. Lyra looked up at him, her large eyes calm. She touched the object, then touched her chest, and finally pointed toward the stars beyond the cave opening. Her voice carried a single word. "Home." Aaron blinked. His chest tightened. So she truly came from the stars. He leaned closer, his voice low. You're not just lost. You're running from something, aren't you?" Her face darkened. She looked down, gripping the glowing stone tighter. For a long moment she said nothing. Then in broken words she tried to explain. "Raiders," she whispered. The word was heavy, as if she had learned it from another human long ago. She pointed toward the horizon, then spread her hands wide like an explosion. "Destroy." "Home," Aaron's breath caught. He saw the pain in her eyes and suddenly understood. Raiders had attacked her people. She had escaped, but only barely. And now those raiders were hunting her here, on this lonely mountain. He felt anger rise in his chest. He had lost his own family to war. His parents, his sister, all gone. And now this girl had lost everything too. Different world, same pain. Lyra's eyes filled with tears, glowing faintly in the firelight. She whispered more broken words. "Alone. No family." Aaron swallowed hard. He reached out and touched her hand gently. "Not alone," he said. "Not anymore." She looked at him, confused at first, but then her lips curved into a small, trembling smile. She understood. The day passed slowly. Together they left the cave to continue their journey across the mountains. Aaron guided Lyra along the hidden paths only he knew, paths through icy ridges, narrow cliffs, and secret valleys. Sometimes they laughed. Aaron showed her how to warm her hands with breath, how to catch snowflakes on her tongue, how to listen for avalanches. In return, Lyra showed him strange abilities. She could make small stones float in the air, and once, when Aaron slipped, she stopped his fall with a wave of blue light. But danger never felt far. At times, Aaron thought he heard echoes, distant metal noises carried by the wind. He would stop, his heart pounding, scanning the sky. Lyra always noticed his fear, but he tried to smile and hide it. That night, they rested under an overhang of rock. The stars burned bright above them. Lyra pointed again to the glowing stone she carried. She placed it on the ground, and suddenly a faint image shimmered in the air above it. Aaron gasped. It was like a picture made of light. He saw a village of shining towers, silver rivers, and alien children playing in gardens of crystal trees. The image flickered, then showed fire, smoke, and dark ships raining destruction. The picture faded, leaving only the glowing stone. Aaron's fists clenched. "The raiders? They took your world." Lyra nodded, silent tears running down her glowing cheeks. He sat in silence for a long time, his chest heavy. Then he spoke, voice rough but steady. "I can't fight an army. I can't bring your world back. But I can help you get across these mountains. I can help you reach safety." Her eyes widened. She touched his chest lightly. "Brother," she whispered in her broken voice. Aaron froze. The word cut deep into his heart. It had been years since anyone called him family. His little sister used to call him brother, before the war took her away. His eyes burned, but he held back the tears. "Yes," he whispered. "Brother." From that night, something changed between them. They were no longer strangers, no longer just survivors. They were family. But far below in the valley, danger drew closer. The 30 raiders marched across the snow in iron boots. Their leader raised a scanner and a faint signal pulsed. Lyra's glowing stone. "She is near," the raider hissed. "Find her. The human with her will die slowly." The mountains trembled as machines moved closer, crushing the snow beneath their weight. And high above, in a hidden shelter of stone, 2 children, one human, one alien, slept side by side, unaware that their bond had already made them a target. The secret had been revealed, and the war was coming for them. The air grew colder as the sun sank behind the jagged peaks. Shadows stretched across the mountains, long and sharp like claws. Aaron and Lyra moved carefully, following a hidden trail along the cliffs. Every step crunched softly in the snow, but the silence around them felt heavy, unnatural. Aaron kept looking back. His chest tightened each time he thought he heard something. Metal scraping, faint echoes of boots on stone. The mountains were full of sounds, but these were different. too steady, too sharp. By the time night fell, the unease had grown into fear. They found shelter in a hollow beneath an overhanging ridge. Aaron quickly gathered wood and lit a fire, though he dared keep the flames small. The fire gave them warmth, but it also gave away their location. Lyra sat close to the flames, hugging her knees. Her eyes glowed faintly in the darkness, reflecting the fear she tried to hide. She whispered a word Aaron could not understand, but he guessed its meaning. Danger. Yes, he murmured. They're coming. The wind picked up, howling through the cliffs like a warning. Then Aaron heard it clearly. Metal clanging against stone, followed by a low hum like machines moving across the snow. He froze, his heart hammered in his chest. They found us. He quickly kicked snow over the fire, smothering the flames. Darkness swallowed them, leaving only the glow of Lyra's skin. He pulled her close, whispering, "Quiet. Don't make a sound." They crouched together, pressed against the cold rock. The noise grew louder. Heavy boots, strange voices speaking in a harsh alien tongue. The ground trembled as if machines were passing nearby. Aaron dared a glance outside. Down in the valley, through the blowing snow, he saw them. Dark figures moving in formation. Their armor gleamed faintly under the moonlight. Behind them crawled metal beasts, machines with glowing eyes that scanned the cliffs. There were so many. Too many, Aaron's breath caught. His whole body screamed at him to run, but he knew they wouldn't survive if they fled blindly into the open snow. Instead, he whispered to Lyra, "Stay behind me, no matter what happens." The raiders spread out, climbing the rocks, scanning the cliffs with strange devices. One of the machines let out a low, rumbling growl. A beam of red light cut across the snow, searching. Aaron's hands shook. He grabbed a stone from the ground, his only weapon. It was hopeless, but he would not let them take Lyra. The beam of light swept closer. It touched the edge of their hiding place. Aaron held his breath, pulling Lyra against his chest, trying to shield her glow with his body. For one terrifying moment, the light stopped. Then it moved on. The raiders passed just above them, boots crunching against the frozen rock. When the sound finally faded, Aaron let out a shaky breath. He thought they were safe, until a loud crash echoed nearby. An explosion ripped through the mountainside. Snow and rock rained down, shaking the ground. Aaron pulled Lyra to her feet. "Run!" They scrambled out of the hollow as fire lit the night sky. The raiders had blown open a nearby cave, their weapons tearing through the cliffs. Alarms blared in alien tones, echoing through the valley. The chase began. Aaron and Lyra ran across the frozen ridge, slipping on the ice. Behind them, the raiders shouted, their machines growling as they gave pursuit. Red beams of light cut across the snow, striking the rocks near their feet. They reached a narrow path along the cliff. Aaron pushed Lyra forward. "Go, don't stop!" A beam hit the ground beside him, scorching the snow. He stumbled, but Lyra grabbed his hand, pulling him onward. Together they raced through the dark, the sound of engines roaring behind them. At last they ducked into a narrow crevice between two cliffs. The passage was tight, almost too small for Aaron, but it hid them from view. They squeezed through, hearts pounding, until they reached a hidden hollow deep inside the rocks. Breathing hard, Aaron leaned against the wall. His body shook with exhaustion, but he forced himself to stay alert. Lyra pressed against him, her wide eyes glowing in the dark. Outside, the raiders' voices echoed. The machines prowled the cliffs, scanning, searching. One of them let out a piercing shriek that made the rocks tremble. Aaron closed his eyes. He remembered the nights he hid from soldiers when war tore his village apart. He remembered the fear, the helplessness, the silence that followed. He thought he had left it behind, but here it was again, worse than ever. Yet this time he was not hiding alone. Lyra's small hand clutched his arm tightly. She trusted him. She believed in him. He whispered to her, "I won't let them take you. I promise." The night dragged on endlessly. They dared not move, dared not make a sound. Every crunch of snow outside made Aaron's heart race. Every hum of machinery felt like the end. Hours passed before the sounds began to fade. The raiders spread farther into the mountains, searching new paths. For now, the two children were safe. But as Aaron looked out through the crack in the rock, he saw the glow of fires spreading across the valley. The raiders were not leaving. They were setting up camp. The hunt would not stop. Aaron's stomach sank. Tomorrow the real battle would begin. For now, though, he pulled Lyra close, shielding her from the cold. Her breathing slowed as she fell asleep against him, but his eyes stayed open. fixed on the shadows outside. The long night of danger had only just begun. The morning sky was pale and gray, heavy with clouds that promised more snow. Aaron had not slept. He sat at the mouth of the hidden crevice, watching the valley below. His eyes burned with exhaustion, but fear kept him awake. Beside him, Lyra stirred. Her glowing eyes opened slowly, and she whispered his name in her broken voice. "Aaron." He turned to her, forcing a smile. "We're safe for now," he said, though the words felt heavy. Deep inside, he knew the truth. Safety was only an illusion. As the sun climbed weakly over the mountains, the valley came alive with movement. Aaron's chest tightened as he saw them. Raiders. Dozens of them. Black armor gleaming like metal shadows. Weapons slung across their backs, strange symbols painted on their shoulders. There were so many, more than he had ever seen in one place. And then came the machines. They crawled across the snow on spiked legs, their bodies humming with power. Each one carried weapons that glowed faintly red like fire trapped in glass. Their eyes scanned the cliffs, sending beams of light that cut through the fog. Aaron counted quickly. 1, 2, 10, 20, 30. 30 raiders in total. His stomach twisted. How could two children, one weak human boy, one injured alien girl, stand against an army? He pulled back into the shadows of the rocks, heart pounding. "They're here," he whispered. Lyra crawled beside him and looked out. Her face went pale, her small body trembling. Yet her eyes did not look away. She seemed to know this army. She had seen them before, when they destroyed her home. The leader of the raiders stepped forward. Taller than the others, his armor was marked with silver streaks. His helmet opened, revealing a scarred face with pale gray skin and eyes as cold as the snow around him. He raised a device that glowed with shifting lines. A harsh voice carried across the valley. "The child is near. Spread out. Burn every cave. Leave nothing alive." The raiders roared in answer, their voices echoing like thunder. They marched in formation, boots pounding the snow. The machines hissed, steam rising from their legs as they climbed the cliffs. Aaron's chest grew tight. He felt smaller than ever, like an insect before a storm. He pressed his back against the cold stone, trying to think, "I can't fight them. I can't even face one of them. But if they find her, she'll die, and me too." He looked at Lyra. She was watching him, her eyes wide but steady. She trusted him, even now. That trust burned inside him like fire. "We can't stay here," he whispered. "They'll find us if we do." He grabbed her hand, and together they crawled deeper through the crevice, moving silently. The narrow passage twisted like a tunnel, finally opening onto another ledge higher up the mountain. From there, they could see the valley spread wide below, an army of black figures moving like shadows across the snow. Lyra clutched the glowing stone at her chest. Her lips moved, whispering words in her own language. Aaron didn't understand, but he guessed it was a prayer. He tightened his grip on her hand. "Don't stop. We'll find another way across the mountains. We just need to stay ahead of them." But staying ahead would not be easy. Already, 2 raider scouts were climbing the cliffs near their ledge. The machine's red beams cut through the fog, sweeping closer and closer. Aaron's breath caught. He pulled Lyra back into the shadows, pressing a hand over her mouth to keep her quiet. The scouts' voices were harsh, echoing against the rock. For one terrifying moment, a beam of red light touched the edge of their hiding place. The glow passed so close that Aaron could feel its heat on his skin. He held his breath, his heart hammering so loud he thought it might give them away. Then, just as suddenly, the light moved on. The scouts climbed higher, unaware of the 2 children hiding in the dark. Aaron exhaled shakily, releasing Lyra. She leaned against him, trembling. He whispered, "We can't keep running forever. We'll have to fight." Somehow, the thought terrified him. He was just a boy with no weapon, no power, but he knew the mountains, the cliffs, the frozen rivers, the hidden paths. If he used the land itself, maybe, just maybe, they could survive. Below, the raiders set up camp. Fires burned across the snow, machines digging trenches, soldiers sharpening blades. The valley was no longer silent. It was the heart of an army. Aaron knew then that this was not just a search. It was an invasion. If the raiders spread further, they would destroy everything in the mountains. His eyes hardened. He was only one boy, but he would not let them take everything. Not again, he turned to Lyra. "We fight with the mountain," he said softly. "We fight smart. Or we don't live at all." She stared at him, then nodded slowly. Her small hand touched his chest again, and she whispered the word she had given him before. Brother. Aaron swallowed hard. Fear twisted inside him, but her word gave him strength. The boy and the alien girl sat together on the frozen ledge, watching 30 raiders spread across the valley below. The storm gathered above and the mountains groaned under the weight of snow. The next day would not be about running. It would be about survival. And for the first time, Aaron believed he could face the impossible. The storm hit at dawn. Snow swept across the cliffs, turning the sky white and hiding the valley below. Aaron stood on a narrow ledge, the wind cutting into his skin, his eyes locked on the army below. 30 raiders, black armor, red machines, a storm of death. Beside him, Lyra clutched her glowing stone, her small body shivering. Her wound had not healed, but her eyes burned with determination. She trusted him completely. That trust gave him strength. Aaron whispered, "The mountain is our weapon." He knew the land better than anyone. He had walked these trails since he was small, hiding from hunters and storms. Every loose rock, every frozen ledge, every hollow, he knew them all. And now he would use them against the raiders. He led Lyra higher into the cliffs. There he showed her the traps he had prepared through the night. Heavy stones balanced above narrow paths, logs hidden under snow, weak patches of ice on frozen rivers, each one a chance to slow the enemy. Lyra watched him with wide eyes. She could not understand every word, but she understood his plan. She nodded, her hand glowing faintly as if ready to help. The first clash came quickly. 2 raider scouts climbed the cliff toward their ledge, red beams sweeping across the rocks. Aaron crouched behind a boulder, holding a thick branch he had sharpened into a spear. His heart hammered. He had never killed before, but this was not about killing. It was about surviving. As the first raider stepped onto the narrow path, Aaron pushed with all his strength. A wall of snow and rocks tumbled down. The raider screamed as the avalanche crushed him, his armor vanishing beneath the white storm. The second raider stumbled back, shouting in his alien tongue. Before he could call for help, Lyra raised her glowing hand. A flash of blue light burst out, striking the raider's weapon. It exploded, throwing the soldier off the cliff. Aaron stared at her in shock. She looked back at him, her chest rising and falling fast. Her power was real and dangerous. The noise drew attention. The leader below raised his head, his scarred face twisting with anger. He barked orders, and the raiders began climbing the cliffs in waves. The battle had begun. Aaron and Lyra ran along the ridge, snow whipping their faces. Raiders climbed after them, but the boy used every trap he had prepared. Rocks tumbled, smashing machines to pieces. Logs rolled down, sweeping soldiers into deep ravines. At one frozen river, he stamped his foot against the thin ice. It cracked wide, and 3 raiders plunged into the black water, their armor dragging them under. But still more came. The sky lit with beams of red fire. Explosions shook the cliffs. The mountain itself roared with the violence. Aaron's ears rang, his body ached, but he kept moving. He could not stop. At one point, a raider cornered him, weapon raised. Aaron lifted his spear, but it was useless against steel armor. The soldier lunged, then Lyra screamed. Her hands glowed bright blue, brighter than ever before. A wave of energy burst out, slamming into the raider. He flew back, crashing into the rocks, his armor sparking. Aaron pulled her close, his eyes wide. "You saved me." Her lips trembled. She looked weaker now, the glow fading. He realized her power came with a cost. She could not use it forever. They had to finish this soon. At last they reached the highest ridge. Below them, the valley burned with fire from machines and weapons. Raiders shouted, their voices carrying through the storm. Aaron looked at Lyra. She held the glowing stone tight, whispering words in her own tongue. He realized then it was not just a keepsake. It was a beacon. She needed time. Time to send the signal. Aaron nodded. "Do it. I'll hold them off." She looked at him, her eyes wide with fear. "Aaron, no." He forced a smile. "Trust me. Brother protects sister." Before she could stop him, he grabbed his spear and ran back to the edge of the ridge. The raiders were climbing fast, their leader among them. Aaron's body shook with fear, but he raised his weapon high. The first raider reached the ledge. Aaron swung the spear, striking hard, knocking him down the cliff. Another came, and Aaron pushed loose rocks down on him. He fought with everything he had. Every step back was bought with sweat, blood, and courage. He was only a boy, but in that moment he felt like more. Behind him, Lyra knelt with the beacon. Blue light rose into the sky, piercing through the storm. It pulsed like a heartbeat, sending a signal into the stars. The raider leader saw it, his face twisted in rage. "Stop her!" he roared. He charged, blade raised. Aaron stepped in front of him, blocking the path. His arms shook, his legs weak, but he stood tall. "You'll have to go through me," the leader sneered. "A human boy? You are nothing." But Aaron did not move. At that moment, thunder split the sky. A blinding light cut through the clouds. Ships descended, sleek silver glowing with blue energy. Lyra's people had heard the call. The raiders froze, their army suddenly small in the shadow of the alien fleet. Aaron fell to his knees, exhausted, his chest heaving. Lyra ran to him, wrapping her small arms around him as tears filled her glowing eyes. "You did it," he whispered weakly. "You gave them the signal." The mountains shook as the battle turned. The final stand had brought help, but for Aaron, the fight was not about armies or fleets. It was about a promise, one he had kept with every breath he had protected her. The mountains shook with thunder. Silver ships cut through the storm, their blue lights burning against the gray sky. The raiders froze in shock, their armor gleaming in the sudden glow. Aaron collapsed to his knees on the ridge, his chest heaving. His arms were numb, his legs weak, but he did not let go of his spear. His eyes stayed fixed on the enemy leader below, who glared at him with fury. Lyra knelt beside him, holding the glowing beacon close to her chest. Tears streamed down her face, but her eyes shone with hope. Her people had heard the call. From the silver ships, beams of light rained down. Energy struck the raiders' machines, tearing them apart. Explosions rocked the valley, shaking snow loose from the cliffs. The raiders shouted in panic, their formation breaking. Still, the leader did not retreat. He climbed higher, rage burning in his scarred face. His blade flashed red in the storm. Aaron forced himself to stand. His whole body screamed in pain, but he planted himself firmly between Lyra and the enemy. "You'll never touch her," he whispered. The leader sneered. "You are a boy with a stick. I am a warrior of the void." He raised his weapon, ready to strike. But before the blade fell, a beam of silver light shot down from the sky. It struck the ground between them, forcing the raider leader back. Figures descended, tall beings with silver blue skin, glowing eyes, and armor that shimmered like crystal. Lyra gasped. "My people!" The alien warriors formed a wall between the children and the raiders. Their weapons hummed with power, firing bursts of energy that cut through the enemy ranks. The raiders screamed as their numbers fell one by one. The leader roared in defiance, swinging his blade wildly, but he was no match. The alien warriors struck together, forcing him to his knees. As the battle raged, Aaron swayed on his feet. His vision blurred, the world spinning. He felt Lyra's small hand clutch his arm, steadying him. "You saved me," she whispered. Her voice was weak but filled with emotion. Aaron gave a tired smile. "You saved me too." At last the battle ended. Smoke rose from the valley, where the raiders' machines lay in ruins. The leader, defeated, was dragged away by the alien warriors. The storm cleared, revealing a sky of endless stars. Lyra's people surrounded her, speaking words in their strange tongue. They touched her gently, checking her wound, comforting her. She smiled, but her eyes never left Aaron. One of the tall aliens stepped forward. His voice was deep, his words careful. "Human child. You protected her against 30 raiders. Why?" Aaron looked at him, his lips trembling. "Because she needed me, because no one should be alone." The alien warrior stared at him in silence, then bowed his head. The others followed. "You showed courage no army could teach," the leader said. "Human strength will not be forgotten." Aaron's chest ached at the words. For the first time, someone had seen him, not as a weak orphan, not as a starving boy, but as something greater. Lyra stepped forward, clutching his hand tightly. "Brother," she whispered, tears glowing on her cheeks. Aaron's heart broke. He wanted to go with her, to leave this cruel world behind, to finally have a family again. But he knew it was impossible. The ships belonged to her people. The mountains were his prison and his home. He smiled faintly, hiding the pain. "Go with them. You're safe now." She shook her head fiercely, but the alien warriors gently pulled her back. She cried out, reaching for him, her voice filled with grief. "Aaron!" The boy stepped away, his spear in hand, standing tall despite his weakness. "I'll be here," he said softly. "Always." The ships lifted into the sky, carrying Lyra and her people away. Her eyes never left him until the clouds swallowed the light. Silence returned to the mountains. Snow fell gently, covering the scars of battle. Aaron stood alone once more, but he was no longer the same. The boy who once had nothing had now faced an army, and won. He had given hope to someone from the stars. He whispered into the wind, "I'm not alone anymore." Far above, beyond the clouds, Lyra pressed her hands against the glass of the ship. Her people spoke of honor, of human courage, of promises kept, and in her heart, she swore she would never forget the boy who saved her. Back in the mountains, Aaron turned and walked into the snow. His steps were heavy, his body broken, but his spirit burned brighter than the storm. The Orphan had become a legend, and though the raiders had been defeated, their fleet still gathered in the darkness of space. The war was not over, but somewhere among the stars the name of a human boy would be remembered forever. The price of courage had been paid.